Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you guys are enjoying the content that we're throwing up. And make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoy the video. And yeah, let's begin. What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back with another installment of how to help superheroes finish with all their living. In this one, we're focusing on supervillains. I feel like that should be the new title, right? How to help superheroes finish with all their living. I think it'd be an amazing title. It'd be funny. It'd be hilarious. Mostly because I came up with it. But in this video, we're tackling one of the biggest bad guys in the DC universe, Darkseid. But before we get into how to kill Darkseid, we'll go over his origin and powers to see why killing him is actually so difficult. So Darkseid was created by Jack Kirby and made his first cameo appearance in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen number 134 back in 1970, before making his first full appearance in Forever People number 1 in 1971. So Darkseid's origin has undergone some changes over the years, and so I'll try to briefly go over both versions, and then we'll move on to Darkseid's powers. So in his original origin, he was simply known as Prince Yuxas, and he was the son of King Yuga Khan and Queen Hegra of Apocalypse. And so Darkseid's brother Drax ends up stealing the Omega Force, an extremely powerful energy source, from his father, and Yuxas kills Drax, but his exposure to the Omega Force transforms him into Darkseid. He then kills his mother and takes over the throne of Apocalypse, which he ruled as a brutal tyrant and became one of the most feared villains in the entirety of the DC universe. Now, when DC rebooted their continuity in 2011 with the New 52, Darkseid's origin changed drastically. Instead of being a prince, Yuxas was born a poor farmer. Tired of constantly toiling just to survive, Yuxas decides that the gods have abandoned ordinary people and sets his sights on revenge. And so while the gods slept, Yuxas climbs the mountain where they live and whispers doubts into their ears, prompting them to go to war with one another. And once they're weakened from battle, Yuxas kills them, steals their power, and transforms his home world into Apocalypse. And so in terms of power, Darkseid is incredibly powerful due to his new god physiology, which also makes him immortal. So once again, we're tasked with killing an immortal being. His strength is nearly immeasurable, and he's been able to throw punches that dealt damage to some of DC's strongest characters, most notably Superman, but also Captain Atom and even Eclipso, who rivals the Spectre in terms of power. Darkseid's durability is also at a ridiculous level, and he survived an explosion that was said to be able to destroy all of reality. Now, Darkseid's primary offensive weapon is his ability to wield the Omega effect, which he most often uses in the form of Omega beams, usually to devastating effects. Now, the Omega beams are inescapable and potent enough not only to deal substantial damage to Superman, but even harmed the Spectre. Darkseid can also use the Omega effect to create the Omega Sanction, which traps his opponents in an endless stream of successively worse lives, constantly dying and being reborn into more miserable circumstances for all of eternity. It's pretty brutal stuff, but that's just how a guy like Darkseid gets his kicks, I suppose. But he also possesses vast telepathic ability, telekinesis, matter manipulation, and possesses incredible intelligence. And so, like I said, one of the most powerful villains in all of DC Comics, which is why we have our work cut out for us in finding a way to kill him. And so to that end, I always think the best way to approach developing our strategy in these videos is to look for some sort of weakness that we can use to our advantage. And so does this effectively immortal, nearly all-powerful villain have any weaknesses? Is it even possible to kill him? The answer is yes. In fact, he has died multiple times throughout his history. One of these instances that we can look to for inspiration occurred during Final Crisis, when Batman shot Darkseid with a bullet made of a substance called Radion. Now, while we don't really know much about Radion in terms of where it came from or what its properties are, one thing we do know is that it is harmful to the new gods and can be lethal in certain circumstances. For instance, the new god Orion, who's actually the biological son of Darkseid, was killed by a bullet made of Radion, and later Batman would hit Darkseid with the same bullet that nearly killed him. And so shortly after he's mortally wounded by the bullet, Darkseid is visited by the Black Racer, who functions as the Grim Reaper of the new gods, showing up when they die to collect their souls. Now, originally, the Black Racer was chasing Barry Allen and Wally West to collect them, but they redirect his attention to Darkseid, and he completes the job of killing him. And so just from this one instance, we can see two possible ways to take Darkseid out in the form of Radion as well as the Black Racer. And while these two things worked in tandem to kill Darkseid in Final Crisis, I think that either one of them on their own would be sufficient to get the job done. In fact, the Black Racer has taken out Darkseid more than once and brought about his death again in the Darkseid War after the Anti-Monitor fused the Black Racer together with the Flash using the anti-life equation and sends him after Darkseid. Now, Darkseid is then killed by the Black Racer along with the Anti-Monitor's blast, and so once again, more than one factor at work here, but we can see that Darkseid is definitely killable. Now, speaking of the anti-life equation, while Radion is probably the simplest way to kill Darkseid, I think the most poetic way would be to use the object of Darkseid's obsession, the anti-life equation itself. Now, the anti-life equation is a formula that can be used to control the minds of others and functions basically as proof that life itself is futile. In the Cosmic Odyssey storyline written by Jim Starlin, 4 aspects of the anti-life equation infiltrate the DC universe, and Darkseid and many of DC's heroes actually work together to retrieve these aspects because they threaten the very existence of the galaxy and all reality itself. Now, while Darkseid is still intent on capturing the anti-life equation, he soon realizes that it's more powerful than he thought, and it could definitely kill him. And so I think the coolest way to kill Darkseid would be to use the one thing that he's tried to harness for most of his existence, the anti-life equation. Granted, this would probably be challenging to acquire, but it would be my preferred method of taking him out, as I think it would just be some great poetic justice for him to meet his own end. And this is really probably the best instance that we see of Darkseid being killed by the anti-life equation, as he was also killed by his daughter Grail using the equation after she'd resurrected him in the form of a child following his aforementioned death at the hands of the Anti-Monitor and Black Racer. Grail, however, would resurrect her father once again in the form of an infant that she intended to raise, which leads us to our real problem, which is whatever means are used to kill Darkseid, he always seems to come back at some point. So really, the only way we can prevent this from happening is to eliminate fan interest in the character, because as long as stories where Darkseid is the villain sell books, he's not going to stay dead permanently. Basically like Batman. I know that's a little meta and not usually what we do in this series, but it's the truth in this case. Darkseid has died multiple times, and each time he comes back because he's just one of the most compelling villains in DC Comics. Killing Darkseid is almost like killing the Joker or killing Batman. Sure, you could do it, but you know he's always going to come back due to his popularity. Even if we found a way to throw him into the antimatter universe or trap him in the source wall to prevent his resurrection, the writers at DC would eventually find a way to bring him back just as they always do. But I think despite the fact that he'll inevitably return, we have at least done our jobs in finding ways that he can be killed, albeit temporarily. But with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.